Still on business, amid calls for a new minimum wage for workers in Nigeria, economist Muhammed says organized labor must be considerate in its demand from the federal government. Muhammed, who spoke exclusively to TV360 Nigeria, says the sustainable amount will ensure other aspects of the economy are addressed. According to him, unlike federal and state governments, which might pay conveniently, the organized private sector will be the worst hit if the minimum wage is not sustainable.
Sometimes people only look at the states, and I ask myself, when you look at the state and the federal government, how many workers do the state and the federal government employ compared to the private sector that employed over 80% of Nigerians? So nobody's looking at that. And I think that is why a lot of Nigerians should look at that area, unless they are saying the minimum wage is just for the public civil servant, then you leave the private sector out of it. Because for states, I think for state government, I think if they cut their excesses, they should be able to pay. Revenue has really gone up by over 200% since President Tinubu came to power. So they don't have any excuse not to be able to pay the minimum wage. For state, for the federal government, the same thing. But for the organized private sector, high interest rate have not helped that sector in growing the economy. A lot of companies are exiting Nigeria because of a very high environment that is full with a lot of volatility, especially in exchange rate for the manufacturing sector. And then you look at tariff that in terms of those that bring goods into this country, the tariff keeps getting high by the day. Today, the government is saying 1,400. And so if at last government agrees on a particular policy with the organized labor, they will also have to look at the private sector and begin to take a bite of some of their own revenue. Maybe in the area of tariff, those that bring in good, government may need to take a bite of their revenue and make sure that maybe they will have to knock off tariff over some manufacturing equipment and others, so that they will be able to pay the minimum wage. Otherwise, what will happen is that most companies will start doing either, whether you call it like sizing or downsizing. That could be the order of the day, especially in the private sector. I think the most we should be worried about is the private sector, which is the key driver of the Nigerian economy. And many of them will be able to afford a high minimum wage as it stands at this time. I think it will be very difficult.